live in the Glen Mary subdivision. And let's go back as a point of reference here to Beth Andrews. And Beth, George was saying that this is one of the worst hailstorms. He's never seen anything like this in his life. And I know you're not the oldest person in the world, but as a meteorologist, have you seen anything quite like this?
I'll tell you, it is amazing. When you know what it takes to produce that kind of hail, just to give you a little idea of what it takes, I mean, hail is starts out as a little ice pellet in the freezing zone of a cloud, which is up in the upper atmosphere, and then that little ice pellet drops down through the cloud. A lot of times it would melt into a raindrop, but when you got a real big storm, you have a big updraft, and that updraft will carry that hail back up into the freezing zone, and it'll get another layer on it, and then it'll come back down in a downdraft, and then you got a real strong updraft that'll take it back up, and it'll get another layer on it. It's like a little onion. If George were to cut open one of those golf ball size hails, I'll bet he'd get a lot of rings. In fact, I'd be interested to see how many rings were inside one of those hailstones if he could get something sharp enough to cut it. But every time it passes up through that cloud, it forms another layer, and it's just amazing to see hail that big. You're right, Gary, I haven't seen it before. It is amazing. I mean, of course, I've read about it, and I've seen it in Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas where you get a lot of these whopper storms, but this is a powerful storm to have enough uplift to take that stone back up, back down, back up, back down, until it's finally so heavy it just plunges to the ground in a great mass of hailstones. So a very powerful storm this was and still is for some of you folks. This pop-up Doppler radar again, do want to not forget that there are people that still are in danger of this storm in our viewing area. It is starting to move to the east part of our viewing area, but let's look at Doppler radar. That's our live look at exactly where the storm is, and we can see exactly where it is on Doppler radar. There we go. And it has moved now out of Spencer County and Shelby County, and it is now in Franklin and Anderson County. So you folks are the ones getting the brunt of it now. It is starting to move out towards the Lexington area. So if you're in Jefferson County, Louisville area, all these surrounding areas, and you've seen all this mess that we've had tonight, you can be rest assured that this storm is moving to the east. There isn't a lot behind it. We could see some rain showers even continuing into the morning hours into Derby Day. We'll see some clouds around in the morning, and then a chance of some more thunderstorms developing tomorrow afternoon. But for the current time, we're looking at these storms pretty much moving due east and moving out of the viewing area. Reed, do you have anything to add?
Just a severe thunderstorm warning now for Franklin County, Kentucky. We had a call from a viewer saying, heard the sirens over there in Franklin County, and indeed, severe thunderstorm warning for Franklin County until 1:30. And the Weather Service Doppler radar is indicating a severe thunderstorm 10 miles to the west of Frankfurt. So it would be the same complex you were just pointing out.
Right, that would exactly be right in this area. So Franklin, Frankfurt, right in this area. You're getting the brunt of this storm. You're under the severe thunderstorm warning, and we'll be watching it to see if it is possibly upgraded to another tornado warning, because it certainly has had that history.
Now, the Weather Service has also issued an urban and small stream flood advisory for Jefferson County, Indiana. In the Madison area, they have had 1 to 2 inches of rain, and they have the report of some standing water hubcap deep in the Madison area. Of course, that under bridges and overpasses here in Jefferson County, I'm quite sure is still very common. But as you said earlier, it'll dissipate rapidly once the rain ends.
Yeah, the good thing about flash flooding is it usually doesn't last too long. So that's the good thing about it. But still are having those problems. We've had a lot of flash flood warnings up towards the Cincinnati area. They've just been pelted with rain, even more so than us. But certainly Jefferson County, Indiana, now getting a lot of problems with rain and flooding.
Let's go to Gary and Melissa.
I guess this will be the Derby Day. We'll always remember that the hailstorm hit. Yes.
Well, let's, as you saw, the storm just passed through Spencer County, Kentucky. So let's go out to Dennis Taylor, who was out there. And Dennis, what was your experience with the storm out in your hometown?
We got marble-sized hail out here. Our windows weren't broken, but the screens looked like someone had just mauled at them and tore them off the frames. My son's car looks like somebody took a ball-peen hammer to it.
Oh, goodness.
So,
lots of damage. You say it was marble-sized hail that tore up everything, your screens?
Right.
Have you got that accumulated hail like we were looking at with George Sells just a moment ago, like a large drifting hail? That's extraordinary. We've not seen that before.
Well, we didn't have it as quite extent as what he had it, but we still had it here for about 10 minutes, and then the rain came in behind it and pretty much melted most of it. So.
How much pretty heavy wind out there? How would you describe that?
I'd say probably somewhere in the neighborhood about 50 miles an hour.
So the insurance company adjusters are going to be getting calls from you, I guess, then tomorrow, Dennis.
Yes, ma'am, they sure will.
Yeah, they're going to be checking the roof, I got a feeling.
Any of your neighbors, have you talked to any of them? Any more damage in your area?
Well, no, I haven't talked to any of them. I see some of them out looking like we are and just seeing how much damage has been done.
So you haven't heard of anyone injured in this in your area?
No, I haven't.
All right, that's very good. Thank you for calling us. Dennis Taylor calling from Spencer County. Damage, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be seeing the same kind of damage. He said that his screen looked like it had been mauled on his windows, and his son's car looked like somebody took a hammer to it. If you've ever seen that kind of hailstone damage to the hood of a car and the roof of a car, it just looks like little dents all over the place.
Good thing about all this is so far, and we've been probably on the air now for an hour and a half, we have yet to receive any indication of damage from any of those tornadic winds that were reported. Several tornado sightings in the area, one in the Floyd County, New Albany area, another in the Fern Creek area. But most of the damage appears to be, at this hour at least, from straight line winds and from the hailstones that fell all across the area, especially across the southern portions of Jefferson County and then over into Taylor and Spencer County. So there you can see them, live pictures from the Glen Mary subdivision. They're just covered in hail out there, little bitty stones that fell from the sky.
And something else is happening now. We're getting a lot of calls into our newsroom, and Beth can talk about this in just a second. Evidently, the hail on the roadway, I guess because it's so cold and the temperature was so warm before this storm and all during the day, it's created an intense, very thick blanket of fog. They say you really can't see 10 feet in front of you. Is that what's happening out there, Beth? There's this cold on the ground now?
Yeah, well, it's a similar, fog is basically a cloud on the ground, so you've got a very similar situation as what we have a lot of times during the winter when the Ohio River, you see the steam fog coming up from it because it's warmer than the air. In this case, you've got kind of an opposite situation. You've got the ice that's very chilly. When you have a drink and you put the ice in the drink, sometimes you'll see a steam, kind of a fog come up, especially if you pour like some water on it, you'll see some fog come up. That's pretty much what we're dealing with, is almost like ice in a cocktail. It's on the ground, it's in the moisture, and you're seeing the fog rise up from that. So that's pretty much what we're getting. And of course, sometimes when you say things on the air, people immediately take action. I appreciate that. We have had a lot of folks call in who've been cutting up their hailstones. And I want to say that our record so far is Mark from Fern Creek, who has 19 rings in his hailstone. So that means that hailstone went up into the atmosphere 19 times before it came back down and landed in Mark's yard in Fern Creek. So that's a pretty impressive hailstone, Gary.
That is pretty impressive. We were just talking about your cocktail analogy, too, Beth. Some people may need one about now.
Yeah.
Boy, not only we cover a storm tonight, we give a science lesson. It's
You get it all right here. Well, thank everyone for calling. We do have crews still out and still working hard, getting pictures. We're even dispatching crews to get your home video. Sometimes that's the very best way to illustrate what these storms did. I did that myself a few years ago.
The last time we had a big hailstorm, Melissa had to bring in her own home video,
movies.
And quite honestly, it was quite similar to what we see here.
It was
not as extensive,
deep.
but large hailstones that fell at your house, and at my house too. It was a big hailstorm out in our neighborhood, but this time it was concentrated in the southern part of the county.
And a lot of people have been calling again from Okolona, Butyl, Fern Creek. That area seems to have really gotten the hardest, largest accumulation of hail, at least from the telephone calls that we have been getting. I was taking many phone calls in the newsroom throughout the evening and this night after the storm hit. And I really didn't get a lot of them from eastern Jefferson County. We probably will now that I'm saying that. But most of them were seemed to be concentrated in the Okolona area, Butyl, Fern Creek. I had a gentleman call me from the Cane Run Road area saying they got marble-sized hail, and then when it went away, it was very still out there. You can see from the video.
Talk about thunder over Louisville.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, some of the spectacular lightning that occurred. This was a terrifically strong storm, as Beth indicated, with very high cloud tops. And the energy generated tonight in the Jefferson County area was just immense, and those were pictures shot, I assume, by one of our photographers of that, and we had some earlier from both MetroCam and BridgeCam, which are particularly effective in covering storms of this type that seem to come marching right east-west right west-east, right down the river.
So I guess, Beth, that as far as Jefferson County is concerned right now, we do have an all clear as far as the storms are concerned right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we've had about enough, and there is pretty much an all clear right now on our radar. You can see really just nothing that's to worry about in Jefferson County. Don't worry about this stuff. It's just false echoes on our radar. We're looking at this that's now moving out of the viewing area, now moving even out of Anderson and Franklin County. So we're really seeing it moved up towards the Lexington area now. And we haven't had any tornado warnings for that area. The last tornado warning we had was for Spencer County. So apparently at this point it's moving off to the east, and we're not going to worry about it anymore. It's not going to reverse itself and come back. We're not going to worry about the storm anymore. Now what we are looking at is this general storm system, the front that is going to pretty much stay in place overnight and into the day tomorrow. I wouldn't expect a lot of activity overnight. Generally when you have some real strong thunderstorms come through, it pretty much takes the punch out of the atmosphere. The atmosphere can only handle so much, and right now I think it's handled pretty much over Jefferson County. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about anything major happening overnight beyond what we've already seen. What we do need to look at, though, is the possibility of thunderstorms refiring up tomorrow afternoon, evening, and tomorrow night, and that's what we'll be watching as this same system is going to stay with us. What will help us is you guys can be happy if tomorrow morning we see lots of clouds, we see possibly some rain showers. We want those clouds and those cooler temperatures to stick with us. We don't want a lot of sunshine, a lot of heating during the day. That's going to make our atmosphere even more unstable and give us the chance for seeing some more thunderstorms later on tomorrow afternoon. Right now we got about a 40% shot at it. Gary and Melissa.
All right, thank you very much. And we want to go back to George Sells now. He has been in the Fern Creek area talking to people. Last time we checked in, he was in the Glen Mary subdivision, and we saw that incredible hail. Are you still there, George, in that area?
Yeah, Melissa, we're still out here, and we still are looking, have not seen any serious damage from what we can make out in the darkness. The hail is everywhere. You take a look down here along the sidewalk, and I mean, this stuff has had a good period of time to melt, but you can still pick up pieces like this one. That's a good sized piece of hail right there. It may have been the size of a golf ball at one time. Now you take a look over here and you can see it just kind of scattered throughout the yard and everything like that. And you get over this way, and this is what we showed you before. It looks like we had a blizzard through here. It's really quite amazing, actually. This stuff is caked in and very thick, it's like packed snow, very heavy packed snow, very wet, of course. And this, like I said, this has had some time to melt already. You can only imagine how big some of these hailstones were when they were falling from the sky. We were told earlier, of course, by neighbors that the hail falling very loud, very fast, very large pieces of hail. And really an absolute mess out here. Our sports director, Gary Gupton, is over this way. Gary, take a walk over here. Gary lives out in this area. And Gary, as you're trying to get some sleep for Derby tomorrow, and all of a sudden this happens. When the snow is falling, or excuse me, the hail is falling, it looks like snow. What was it like when the storm came through?
Well, we heard the sirens go off, and we grabbed the kids and headed to the basement. And I don't know, we must have endured, it had to be 3.5, 4, 5 solid minutes of just unrelenting hail falling out here. And it was kicking up so loudly and so vociferously on the back porch, it looked like steam and smoke was rising off of it.
Kind of a scary moment. You're grabbing the kids. You know, this isn't the normal thing that you are used to dealing with. I mean, did you think you were in danger at any point?
I really thought we're going to see a tornado at any point. I mean, when I was living in South Carolina and Florida, I covered a lot of hurricanes, and this storm was the winds at least were as difficult as what you have to endure if you're covering a hurricane.
And I can tell you from firsthand experience also, Melissa, that those kind of winds are something that will really get your attention and show you just how powerful Mother Nature can be. Obviously, folks, feeling pretty lucky right now. Doesn't appear to be any serious damage. And if there was a tornado in this area, and there were some reports of funnel clouds, nothing confirmed, but if nothing touched down, folks are feeling pretty lucky out here right now.
All right. Thank you very much, George Sells. Thank you, Gary Gupton. Everyone out working a lot later tonight than we had anticipated. We anticipated a long day tomorrow, but not such a long one today.
Oh, well.